Kenyan members of parliament seek to debate pull-out from the International Criminal Court. The DR Congo talks set to resume in Kampala. And security gains in Somalia fragile after an attack on the president's convoy. Welcome to Africa Live on CCTV News with me, Beatrice Marshall, in Nairobi. Also ahead on the program. The gold strike in South Africa has hit the industry hard, but unions now say they may be willing to compromise.
We participate because firstly to win and secondly to get experiences.
And African stars optimistic as the Kung Fu competition gets underway in Madagascar. Kenya's parliament has called an emergency session for Thursday. Members of parliament are to debate a motion to withdraw Kenya from the International Criminal Court. Now this just days before Kenya's deputy president is due to go on trial at the International Criminal Court. CCTV's Robert Nagila has that report.
It's a story that's gripped millions of Kenyans. In just a few days from now, Deputy President William Ruto is due to go on trial at the ICC. A former radio presenter will be joining him there, and in November, President Uhuru Kenyatta is also due there. They're all facing similar charges, among them murder, stemming from the violence that followed the 2007 elections. They all insist they're innocent, but will respect the ICC process. But Kenyatta and Ruto's party has no such qualms. It wants Parliament to vote through a motion to withdraw from the Rome Statute, which binds them to the ICC. This issue is of national importance. The man behind the plan says he is aware this will not stop the trials, but insists it's about Kenya's sovereignty.
A sitting president and a deputy president elected in a free, fair elections, transparent, upheld by the Supreme Court of that land, are being paraded in a foreign court.
And here's what we expect to happen on Thursday at about 2:30 p.m. local time. Members of Parliament from both the ruling party and the opposition will gather here at the chambers in Parliament to debate and then take a vote on whether Kenya should pull out of the ICC. Those proceedings expected to last at least 4 hours up until 6:30 p.m. local time, after which Parliament will then be adjourned until the 17th of September. And there's a real chance the motion could succeed. Jubilee has 216 members in Parliament, while the opposition can only count on 133. But Duale says he's seeking a cross-party consensus.
I had a serious consultation with the leader of the minority, with a cross-section of the other divide.
There's been no comment from Ruto or Kenyatta on whether they support the motion. But if it does go through, Kenya will be the first country to withdraw from the ICC. And that's likely to have serious repercussions for its international relations. Robert Nagila, CCTV, Nairobi, Kenya.
While the members of parliament's plan has been dominating headlines in Kenya, the Kenyan President Uhuru Kenyatta and his deputy William Ruto have widespread popular support, and still many Kenyans question the proposal to withdraw so close to their trials. CCTV's Kofa Murenje has more.
On the 11th of August 1999, Kenya became a signatory to the Rome Statute, which was later ratified on the 15th of March 2005, making Kenya the 98th state party to that statute. Now, 14 years down the line, members of the National Assembly now want Kenya to pull out of that statute. Now, this latest move by the National Assembly has elicited mixed reactions among Kenyans.
Because I think most of the superpowers, like the US and most of the other countries, they are not actually signatories of the Rome Statute. So I think as a sovereign nation, we have to make a decision and pull out of the ICC.
What I think it's telling us is that the country feels very strongly about the fact that we should at least be bringing this case back to Kenya or to East Africa.
Many feel it is likely that that motion will go through. However, many here believe that will not have a big impact on the cases once they start at The Hague.
the judicial process is a very neutral process to the political influences, because you know any judicial process is based on the evidences you present and how you argue your cases. So whether we make so much noise, it will not change anything nor add anything at all.
We should not only be waiting for outsiders to come and tell us to do ABCD. So to me, I think it's a good idea, but it might only look as if we are rushing it because Honorable Uhuru and Ruto are going there.
Withdrawal from the Rome Statute is a long process and usually takes time, because the government has to write to the UN Secretary General stating their intention, and the withdrawal can only be effective 1 year after the date of notification. Kofa Mrenje, CCTV, Nairobi, Kenya.
Well, the African Union has long been a critic of the International Criminal Court. It says member states like Kenya must be free to pursue justice through their own legal systems. CCTV's Girum Chala with more details.
Many of its members may be signatories to the International Criminal Court, but the African Union does not see eye to eye with The Hague. For example, it frequently urges members to ignore the ICC's arrest warrant for Sudanese leader Omar Hassan al-Bashir. The African Union accuses the ICC of targeting African leaders. Current AU chairman Hailemariam Desalegn has even branded it race hunting. The International Criminal Court has vociferously denied those allegations, but the prospect of Kenya now withdrawing has put the ICC's relationship with Africa back on center stage. Whether other African states would follow Kenya is not clear. The AU is giving no guidance to its members, saying it's up to them. But the African Union says many African countries are capable of dispensing justice freely and fairly. It says the International Criminal Court should not be a replacement, but only a last resort. Grumjala, CCTV, Addis Ababa, Ethiopia.
A meeting in Kampala of Defense and Foreign Affairs ministers from the Great Lakes region called for a stop to hostilities in eastern DRC. Uganda's permanent secretary in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, James Mugume, says the issue is top of the agenda. Now, regional ministers of Defense and Foreign Affairs were locked up in closed-door meetings the entire day to discuss the DRC situation ahead of the Heads of State Summit on Thursday. CCTV's Isabel Nakiria has details from Uganda.
A report from the Ministers of Defense and Foreign Affairs from the Great Lakes will lay down resolutions intended to be adopted at an emergency summit on Thursday. And an end to hostilities in the DRC is a top priority.
You know, we are diplomats. We must always give negotiations a chance. You know, war may not solve the problem. It might or might not. But that's why we are here.
The Kampala talks between the DRC government and M23 stalled after the two parties withdrew for consultations, then leading to armed clashes. The fighting, where the UN brigade backed DRC forces against the M23 rebels, was some of the heaviest. One peacekeeper died and several injured.
No, you have to stop the fighting, then go to peace talks, and then, as agreed within the Peace Security Cooperation Framework Agreement of February 2019.
UN Special Envoy to the Great Lakes, Mary Robinson, and 12 regional leaders will attend Thursday's summit to discuss the deteriorating situation in eastern DRC. It's also expected that President Museveni, as chair of the Great Lakes grouping, will use this forum to try and improve strained relations between Presidents Kikwete of Tanzania and Kagame of Rwanda. They fell out after Tanzania suggested Rwanda should negotiate with the Interahamwe rebel group. Interahamwe is a Rwandan rebel group operating in DR Congo. In response, President Kagame accused Kikwete of siding with the Interahamwe that is reportedly composed of former suspects in the 1994 genocide. However, despite the divisions, Thursday's emergency summit is seen as a regional effort to help find a lasting and peaceful solution to the conflict that has forced thousands to flee eastern DRC. Isabel Nakiria, CCTV, Kampala.
Well, even as leaders head to Kampala, many in Goma are skeptical the talks will help. They say past meetings have done little to halt the conflict, and many say the best hope is that the rebellion is crushed. CCTV's Jen Keo is in Goma and filed this report.
He's just 19, but Bosco Sanzwe has seen things no teenager should have to see. 2 months ago, fighting between the government and the M23 rebels drove his family from their home 10 kilometers from Goma. They took refuge in this church, but a week ago a bomb landed inside the compound. Bosco's 4-year-old sister Ishara had been playing at the time. She was playing here, he tells me, and I was seated there when I heard a loud noise. I remember seeing a lot of smoke and dust. It took me an hour to recover, and my sister was no more. It took a while to pull the little girl's body from the rubble. You can still see the impact of the blast here. Ishara's mother is still in hospital, suffering from shock. It's that sort of violence that's prompted Uganda to call an emergency summit on the DRC. Kampala is concerned the flare-up in fighting now threatens the entire region, and it's hoping the regional leaders can find a way to avert more tragedy. But people in Goma seem to have little hope of a breakthrough.
We don't believe because it's a long time that the thought started, but it never brought anything. And we still hope that is the lose of time. We don't know if something good will come from Kampala.
That is just politics. They will not achieve anything. They're lying to us.
Let them allow our forces to fight the enemy. That's the solution.
Bosco Sanzwe has already lost one sister to the fighting. He has 3 more siblings to care for, and for their sake, he's desperate for peace, however it's achieved. I just want the violence to stop, he says, because even if we get help or assistance, without peace we can do nothing. Well, there's no doubt about the complexity of the crisis here in the East, and finding an amicable solution may be the Great Lakes leaders' biggest challenge. Jane Keo, CCTV, Goma, the Democratic Republic of Congo.
You're watching Africa Live on CCTV News. Coming up on the program. In the name of peace, thousands rally for peace in a volatile Central African Republic. And security gains in Somalia fragile after an attack on the president's convoy.
One year after the deadly Marikana shootings.
It's worse.
The worst in post-apartheid South Africa, labour unrest continues to plague Africa's biggest economy.
We get nothing from that 16 up to now.
Our demands are reasonable.
This week, Talk Africa analyses the origins of a potentially explosive problem that could push South Africa to the brink.
Welcome back to the program. Now, thousands of protesters in the Central African Republic rallied in the capital to call for peace in the strife-torn country. They marched through different neighborhoods before converging at the city center.
Monday's protest, called by civil society groups and youth organizations, came as Jotodia gathered former Seleka rebels and officers of the regular army to discuss the country's dire security situation.
We are very happy about the success of this event because we hope that our authorities have taken note of our demands. We ask for nothing less than peace in our country.
Widespread unrest has gripped the Central African Republic since March, when a coalition of rebel groups called Seleka deposed President Francois Bozize, who had ruled since a 2003 coup. The rebels' leader, Michael Jotodia, was sworn in as president last month, but has so far struggled to restore stability.
My brothers and sisters, I want to ask your forgiveness for each of my interventions elsewhere. When we came to power, as you know, a witch hunt did not take place. We did not do that. They are all there, and it is certain that we will work together today. In a decree during the decoration of officers, I promoted 2 of Bozize's children. My dear people, what do you want?
The president last week ordered warlords from his former rebellion to give up their fiefdoms in the capital as troops from the African Union's international support mission to Central Africa moved in to subdue armed groups that have continued to terrorize the country. The Central African Republic has been beset by reports of widespread rape, recruitment of child soldiers, weapons proliferation, huge population displacement, and severe malnutrition since the March coup. Maria Galang, CCTV.
Somalia's President Hassan Sheikh Mohamud escaped unhurt from an ambush on his armored convoy on Tuesday morning and attacked the militant rebels Al-Shabaab claimed to have destroyed vehicles. Mohamud was on his way to the port city of Marka, south of the capital, Mogadishu. Now, this is the second time the president of the troubled Horn of African country has escaped an attack meant to assassinate him. Last year, just 48 hours upon taking office, suicide bombers struck the gate of the hotel where he was meeting with the then Kenyan Foreign Affairs Minister. The latest attack comes as the UN Secretary-General Ban Ki-moon warned that the country is at risk of sliding back into a state of lawlessness. In his report to the Security Council, the UN chief called on all UN members to provide the African Union peacekeepers with attack helicopters and armored troop carriers to root out the Al-Qaeda allied rebels Al-Shabaab. Ban Ki-moon said allowing Al-Shabaab to continue its training and conduct terrorist activities from bases in Somalia will not only undermine peace in Somalia, but also that of the wider region. Now, Ban Ki-moon said allowing Al-Shabaab to continue its training and conduct terrorist activities from bases in Somalia will undermine peace in the Horn of Africa region. Well, let's now get more on this situation in Somalia. And does Al-Shabaab really have the potential to reverse the political gains made in Somalia over the last 1 year? And how critical is the Addis Ababa agreement between the Somali federal government and the self-established Juba region to the stability of the Horn of Africa region? Well, let's get more on that. And we're now joined live from Mogadishu by Abdirahman Omar Osman, an advisor and spokesperson to the Somali president. Mr. Osman, thank you very much for joining us here on Africa Live. What is your reaction, though, to Tuesday's attack on the presidential convoy? Is the president under any threat?
Thank you very much, Patrice. Absolutely not. I was with the president yesterday when we went to the Merka, which is 90 kilometers from Mogadishu, and the president decided to go through the road, and there were no attacks and no ambush at all. But Al-Shabaab, as usual, they have claimed that. So absolutely, I can categorically deny the claim from Al-Shabaab, which it seems is spreading to the media, and the president was not attacked. And if I may say, Al-Shabaab are still there, but they are on the run. And thanks to AMISOM troops and Somali forces, now Al-Shabaab are on the run. And that's why they are doing attacks to the people, such as explosives, such as hand grenades, such as suicide attacks. But it shows that they are desperate.
All right. Mr. Osman, let's talk about the question of jurisdiction, though, and just how much the central government controls over Somalia at the moment. The big question is, what area does the central government in Mogadishu control?
I think the central government, which is now the federal government of Somalia, controls the whole country. And if you look, our parliament is fully representative of all regions, all clans of Somalia. And the legitimacy was driven from clan elders that came together last year in Mogadishu, and they selected their own members of the parliament, which is 4.5 formula throughout Somalia. So in terms of the parliament, in terms of the cabinet, the Somalis are fully represented in that, and it's the only legitimate body that can represent the whole Somalia. Despite of that, we got in some districts or towns that Al-Shabaab still control, and we have now the plans and the means to get rid of Al-Shabaab completely, and it will be a matter of time before we see Somalia stable, peace and stable, and that will be good for the region. And what we're doing here for 22 years of chaos and warlordism, now we have an opportunity to move forward.
Al-Shabaab, though, was in the past quite active in Kismayu, but a resolution was passed last month in Kampala where the central government was to be given control of both the Kismayu airport and the seaport. Has this happened? And if not, what is the time frame for this resolution to be implemented?
I think that resolution has been already implemented. The federal government of Somalia have already discussed it and had talks with the interim administration of Juba. As a result of that, I can inform you that on the 28th of August, that the federal government of Somalia and the interim Juba administration have signed an agreement with the support of IGAD in Addis Ababa. And now that agreement is in force, where we have agreed for both to work together and the interim administration to come to Mogadishu so we can finalize the deals and the issues, practicality, and how the federal government can control institutions in Kismayu. And we are very hopeful and grateful.
All right, Mr. Abdi Rahman Omar Osman, advisor and spokesperson to the Somali president, joining us there from the capital, Mogadishu. Thank you very much for your updates. Now, Kenya's capital, Nairobi, is staging a film festival with a difference. It may not have the glamour of Cannes, but this festival is a real showcase for raw filmmaking talent. CCTV's Clementine Logan has more.
People are not willing to give you money to make your first film.
Lydia Katanu wants to make films, and now she's getting to live her dream.
To me, I think it's passion. It comes from within me because there are some issues maybe you want to address. You can address it either in singing, but through filming, you can be able to reach so many people the worldwide.
The 21-year-old is well on the way to reaching those people. She's working on her latest short film.
My project is it has got 3 themes, that is tribalism, domestic violence, and betrayal. Okay, the reason why I wrote this script or I've decided to do this short film is just to reflect on the main things that happens in my society.
Lydia's among scores of filmmakers in Nairobi this week, and most of them share the same background. They come from the slums. The Slum Film Festival has been organised to allow slum dwellers to tell and watch their own stories. The festival offers some vital training for aspiring filmmakers, a showcase for their work, and helps boost distribution.
Look at the stories these young filmmakers do, just using their phones and flip cameras. They really do amazing stories. So I'm seeing there is a possibility of of getting much content. We just need to have a platform where they can be able to be nurtured and share these stories. And that's where Slum Film Festival comes in, because it's giving them a platform.
Growing up, my father was my best friend, and you could call me his right-hand man.
This year, the festival has attracted submissions from across East Africa and beyond, each offering a different slice of slum life. Organisers hope this will help combat an oversimplified doom and gloom perspective of life in the slum and help break cultural boundaries. And for young filmmakers like Lydia, the opening night is a priceless experience.
Life is full of trials and triumphs. Whatever condition you find yourself,
I want to learn more about film, and as a filmmaker, I believe you have to learn from what other people have done. So coming here will help me to make my film better.
The festival's set to run through the week. Organisers hope it will keep reaching a wider audience and help discover fresh talent. Clementine Logan, CCTV, Nairobi, Kenya.
Let's now head briefly to Southern African region, where vilified by the West, who hoped that he would lose to the opposition MDC's Morgan Tsvangirai, newly re-elected Zimbabwean President Robert Mugabe still commands massive support at home. As the veteran leader in power since 1980 prepares to assemble his next government, CCTV's Farai Mwakutuya examines why, at 89, President Mugabe remains popular and how he secured the people's mandate for yet another term in office.
In the 2008 election, Mugabe won 43% in the first round of voting. Fast forward 5 years, and he has turned that into a 61% majority and more importantly, another 5 years in power. Even his most fierce critics acknowledge his attributes.
Robert Mugabe is principled. This is the type of person who says, I will die for this, and they mean it.
Those principles have won him fans at home and beyond. Millions in Africa consider Mugabe a defender of the continent against foreign exploitation. Back home, he has tapped into a new support base.
It's amazing, how he is old, but he's liked by the youth,
More than 65% of Zimbabwe's population is below the age of 35. Winning this constituency over was key to securing the election. A black empowerment drive targeting youths is credited for Mugabe's surge in popularity.
Every youngster looks forward to be a rich, wealthy business person, and that's Mugabe for you. That's what he encourages. He doesn't encourage the youngsters to be employees, but to be employers.
Though Zimbabwe under Mugabe's reign has experienced a checkered economic history, many here still praise him for giving power to the people. Implementation of the land reform program and now indigenization in the face of intense opposition have swayed supporters to Mugabe's side. While critics have cited his age as a potential handicap, even that has not hampered his drive.
How many 89-year-olds are going to be making speeches in 10 days every day and come and remain coherent and remain logical and remain convincing?
Not many. That Mugabe is able to do so is a sign that challengers have a tough task trying to dislodge him. The July 31 elections will soon be a faded memory. However, Mugabe's emphatic victory has cemented his indelible legacy on the history of this country. Farai Mwakutuya, CCTV, Harare, Zimbabwe.
Let's now take a look at Africa's business today with Rama Nyang. Rama?
Thank you very much, Beatrice. Here's what's coming up on Biz Africa.